and welcome back. It's time to mind some old people's business. My commentary cutie is not here, so it'll be just me. But don't you worry, I am the drama. My maid of honor told me I owe her the position, and now I can't stop regretting asking her. I honestly don't know how I got here. I asked my oldest friend to be my maid of honor. We've known each other since we were 11. I thought it would be special, meaningful, a no-brainer. But ever since I asked, she's changed. She complains about every little thing. The dress, the group chat, the budget for the bachelorette, the venue, the other bridesmaids. She said, and I quote, "You know you kind of owe me this. I've always been your ride or die. Full stop. I owe you nothing." Okay. It didn't feel sweet. It felt like pressure. Yeah. Like a guilt trip. Like this is some favor she's been cashing in on. She's been weirdly passive aggressive in the group, late to every planning thing, and when I brought up how stressed I was, she said I was being dramatic. Okay. It to me sounds like she is a little bit jelly welly, that this isn't about her. I don't know, but I don't like friends like this. Those friends who, when something is supposed to be special and supposed to be about you, and just because they feel like they've been there for a while, that they kind of like, you owe them something. You owe them absolutely nothing. It is an honor to be in what's supposed to be your best friend's wedding. Like, I don't get it, y'all. I don't get it. I haven't even had the heart to bring it up again. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells around her and I don't even recognize our friendship anymore. It is so funny how weddings can bring out the worst in people. Weddings and birthdays, I really don't know what it is about those events, but like when somebody, unfortunately, who is used to being the main character is no longer the main character, they start to act like the villain in the story, and I cannot contemplate like not being happy for someone that you are that you supposedly love in a situation. Like I personally just don't get it. I don't know. I don't want to deal with the drama on my wedding, and yet she's supposed to be standing right next to me. If I remove her, it'll be ugly. If I say nothing, you know, I'll resent her the whole time. Has anyone actually swapped out a maid of honor this late in the game? Did it blow up or work out? I just want to enjoy my wedding without secretly dreading every moment she's in. Babes, it's so much better to just rip off the band-aid, and I guess it's hard for people who tend to not want to rock the boat, right? I don't mind the boat rocking. I don't mind turbulence. I don't mind none of that, because I would prefer to rip off the band-aid, have the explosions in and there, than to have something terrible happen on your wedding, or have a day that is supposed to be joyous and happy and about you and about the people that clearly actually love you or clearly actually want to be involved in your wedding, to have that overshadowed by someone who you, one, don't want there anymore, two, are uncomfortable with, and three, does not feel like they are happy for you, doesn't seem like the right course of action to take. And while you may not want to deal with the confrontation, I am definitely somebody that is always very much, it's better to rip the band-aid off now than to rip it off later. The longer you let something kind of build and fester, the more likely you are to explode. And the explosion is always worse than you could have just did it in the beginning. Harder said than done, I know. My wife tends to be a very much let it build, let it build, let it build person. But she has learned on her own that speaking up in the beginning versus speaking up at the end has always worked better. Somebody said, do you want your wedding to be miserable? Walking on eggshells for someone is not it. I have to agree. Try to have a calm conversation with her about what's going on. If you can't agree on a way to move forward where she is enthusiastic or happy for you and supporting you in the way you need, you let her go, and she's welcome as a guest. No, do not argue, do not bargain, shine, that's fine. You may lose that friendship, but what kind of friendship do you really have at this point? Yeah, I'm not even going to say invite her to the wedding, because it's more likely that she might do something that pisses you off at your wedding. Like, I don't know, wear a white dress or cause a commotion or just something that's unnecessary. So I would just excommunicate. Period. Yep, my youngest sister and her BFF had a similar dynamic that escalated into toxicity until sis fired her. D collected the unfinished bridesmaid dresses from her seamstress and dropped them off at sis's door without the patterns. I managed to get them finished, but as bad as it got, having D gone made the rest of the wedding planning and events better. The wedding and reception were lovely. Sis wasn't stressed and tiptoeing around D. Yeah, it just sounds like you, like I said before, it's going to sound like a broken record. Rip the band-aid off. Unfortunately, the friendship's over. What friendship has it been anyway? She hasn't been nice. She hasn't been kind. She's been passive-aggressive to your other bridesmaids, telling you that you owe her something, making this event more about her than it is about you and your happiness. And yeah, just cut her loose, babes. Cut your losses. Cut them while you can. Am I the asshole for saying no to being my sister's bridesmaid after she told me I couldn't be one because I didn't have a boyfriend? And I recently found out how much she excluded me. This happened in 2019, but I've only recently realized how deeply it hurt me and how much of it I didn't even know at the time. Back then, I was 16 and my older sister was 21. She was planning her wedding and I genuinely expected to be a part of it because we're sisters. But when I brought it up, she told me I couldn't be a bridesmaid because I didn't have a stable boyfriend. I'm confused. Okay, yeah, seriously. I was 16 and apparently being single disqualified me from standing beside her. It was such a weird, unnecessary reason, especially when there were other solutions, like she could have had me walk with our brother or literally anyone else. But instead of making space for me, she made an excuse to leave me out. Okay. Oh. There are a couple things here. Your sister sounds like a weirdo. A real weirdo. And I understand the sister dynamic. I get that. Well, let me not even say that because I don't understand this sister dynamic. My sister, God rest her soul, would not exclude me from anything. But there also is a pinch of entitlement there. Granted, you were 16, so of course you probably thought you were going to be in her wedding. But don't expect to be in anybody's anything unless they ask you. Granted, it's your sister, so it's like very nuanced. But the reason she also gave you was very strange. You're 16 and you have to be a boyfriend and you have a boyfriend and you have a brother. Like that doesn't even... Okay. Later on, she did ask me again if I wanted to be a bridesmaid. But at that point, it felt like an afterthought. Like she was just checking a box, not actually wanting me there. So I said no. I didn't feel wanted. I felt tolerated. You have the right to your feelings. But here's the part that really messed me up. I only found out a couple months ago, I'm 22 now, that she had gone dress shopping during that time with our mom, with our other sister, and her best friend. She already had her dress. She never invited me. Never even told me. That's some weirdo behavior. Do y'all have the same mom? Because that's some weirdo behavior. I'm sorry. And even if you don't have the same mom, I didn't even know I'd been left out until years later. When I finally got the courage to ask her why she didn't include me, she said, "You can be mean." And then she added, "You're picky about dresses." Which really confused me because I had been in one of her friend's wedding at 14. I wore whatever dress they gave me without a single complaint. So where was this coming from? It felt like she just made her mind up about me, created this version of me in her head, and used that to justify keeping me out of such an important moment in her life. It wasn't based on anything real that I had done. I'm so confused. That is such weirdo behavior. I'm trying to wrap my head around the relationship you could have possibly had. I'm going to need a little bit more context because why is she acting like this? It sounds like she's just being a mean older sister. And I really want to know if you like have the same mom or like same dad or like what the actual aspect is, because I can only use my family as a reference point because I obviously don't know yours, right? So in my situation, my mother would never let me exclude my sister from anything unless my sister was being an absolute monster, right? But the excluding for the sake of exclusion would not have been something that's able to happen with me being an adult and all. So like, I don't understand the family dynamic or like any of that. This makes it worse. The wedding didn't even end up happening, but the emotional fallout still lingers. There's tension between us, and now that I've put all the pieces together, I can't stop wondering if I was wrong for saying no, or if I was drawing a boundary after being made feel unwanted. If she made you feel like an afterthought, told you you couldn't be in the wedding, and then came up and asked you later, I personally would have said no too. Honestly, out of spite. Like, no, you told me I couldn't be in your wedding, so honestly, forget your wedding. And forget ain't the word I would have used. So Reddit, am I the asshole for not being a bridesmaid after she told me I couldn't be because I didn't have a boyfriend, or for still feeling hurt now that I'm finding out how excluded I was? Edit. Oh, it's about to start thundering. Let's wrap this video up, okay? Edit. I get why it might seem like I'm bringing up old news, but for me, it's not really about the bridesmaid thing. It's about the pattern that's been building for a long time. The moment just brought a lot of feelings to the surface. I've been confused about our relationship and wondering if I'm in the wrong for feeling hurt. This wasn't just about a wedding. It was about feeling minimized. Like my thoughts and feelings were never fully mattered. When we talked about how close she got to my sister's best friend and how she's chosen her over her own sisters more than once, it reminded me of all the times I felt pushed aside. So no, it's not really old news to me. It's something I've been carrying. This was just the most recent moment that I brought it up. So if this happened at 16, you were 16, and this was in 2019, and this is from 9 days ago. Oh, you were 16 when this happened in 2019. It's now 2025, you're 22. That's not old news in my head, seeing as though those were your adolescent years where your brain was still developing what healthy relationships look like, etc., etc. Healthy relationships in every capacity, right? So this happened at a pivotal time where, one, I know in our teen years we're not even comfortable with ourselves the way that we think we should be. And then you find out that your sister's also just kind of being, I was about to say a bad word, your sister's kind of being terrible to you, period. And you mentioned that bringing up the fact that she gets closer with her best friend's sister versus how she treats you. And if you see your sister often, this isn't old news. Like you said, it's a pattern of behavior that you've recognized, and that's something that you've been dealing with for a while now. So I won't say you're old news, and I personally don't think you're an asshole for it. I think that you are still hurt, still processing the emotions, and from somebody who is currently in therapy, it can take years for the root emotion of how you felt to be dealt with. I am in therapy dealing with stuff that happened to me when I was 10, 11, 12. So, and I'm 32. So, this isn't old news. It's trauma. And however small or large you feel the trauma is, it's still trauma that you have to deal with. Comments. You seem to already know the answer. This was not you imagining something. This was your sister intentionally excluding you. It seems like you have a few options. You can accept that she doesn't like you as much as she likes the rest of the family. You can talk to her about it and find out whatever grievances are valid and whether she wants to work on forming better relationships in the future. Or you can work on yourself and setting a boundary and resolving the grief that comes from knowing you can't have the kind of relationship you want with your sister. And that's another thing. Sometimes you're just not going to have the relationships with people that you think you should, despite them being your blood relative. And that's something that I know quite personally. It's something that you're going to have to get over, unfortunately. It sucks. It truly, truly sucks. It is not a fun experience, but it's something that you have to kind of deal with. And of course, deal with it on your time, but the sooner you come to terms with what your relationship looks like, the better. Alright, y'all. That's it for today. Until the next one, subscribe!